and welcome. My name is Andrew, and this is the Who Dat Discussion, a New Orleans Saints podcast where we talk about all reactions, opinions, and news for the New Orleans Saints. So, as I said before, my name is Andrew, and this is the first episode of this podcast. So, I'll start out with a little about myself and why I'm doing this podcast. So, I am from New York. I've been a Saints fan my whole life. You're probably wondering why I'd become a Saints fan. Because, I wanted to pick an underdog team. I started being a fan when the Saints weren't so good. But, most of my team was Giants fans or Jets fans. And, I just wanted to pick a different, route and be different. So, I've been a Saints fan, for my whole life. And, there's obviously been a lot of ups and downs. But, I wanted to, start this podcast because I'm always looking for Saints content, and, I'm always looking for new stuff. So, and because I'm from New York, I don't get the local stuff. So, there's never enough. So I wanted to create another way fans can get this news and opinions and reactions, and just, so they can formulate new opinions and have well-rounded opinions, so we can have, good discussions, and everyone could be more educated, including myself. And I just thought it'd, be a fun thing to do, talk about my favorite team. So, as we start off, we'll start off with some Saints news. So, we have a couple of, Saints news. We'll do this every week. We'll just put out the 5 most important things. So, we're going to start off with the Saints who signed Terrence West to a 1-year minimum deal to play running back for the Saints. So, West was picked in the 3rd round by Cleveland. He only played 1 year for Cleveland. There he played 14 games. 171 attempts and 673 yards. He had 4 touchdowns. After a short stint with Tennessee, he went on to Baltimore, where 2016 was a really big year when he had almost 200 attempts and he had 775 yards. He did have 5 touchdowns. And receiving the ball, he's an okay receiver. In that 2016 season, he had 35 receptions and he put up 236 yards. So, what does this really show about the Saints? Well, it shows that they're really bringing depth because of the Mark Ingram suspension, which we'll get on later with our main topic. So, Terrence West, he's a poor man's Mark Ingram. So, in my opinion, he's gonna probably offer what Mark Ingram does, just at a lower, skill level, which is, could be good. And it's just a depth piece because, if Boston's got, Trey Edmonds and Jonathan Williams, they're playing well. There's no need for West, and he probably will be cut, and there's no penalty or anything. So to me, it's just low risk, high reward. And if those players are not playing well, he can come in, step right in, and at least give some resemblance of Ingram. And Kamara, he'll probably take on most of it anyways. But even Sean Payton said that Kamara won't get all the carries. So for that piece of news, now on to the next one, which I think I'm going to talk about for a little more, would be, so the Saints inducted Pierre Thomas and Lance Moore into the Saints Hall of Fame. So these were both great players from 2009 and that era, which I enjoyed all of them. We'll start with talking a little about Pierre Thomas. He was very underappreciated from the league. Saints fans really loved him. But he's got through every tackle, fought for every yard. He had an amazing work ethic, working from being undrafted. And, he was our main running back that year, got the much of the carries. And, he's really, he was one of the reasons why we went all the way. He had the screen pass in the Super Bowl and he took it all the way to the house to have our first touchdowns. That will always be near and dear my heart. And, they're really, you look at his stats, and then you see that, he was good. A very good player. He did never get 1,000 yards, but he, if you combine his receiving and rushing, he does get that multiple times. But in 2009, he gets it. So, you got to put it together. He did have 9 touchdowns in 2008, and, he was a very solid player. He's much deserved. Lance Moore, to me, he's also he's well deserved too. He was great in his career. He had just about 40 touchdowns as a Saint, which is a good amount. He was a great player for 2009, key player, slot receiver. To me, if the Saints had him in his prime this year, I think we would have probably went close to going all the way too. So, that shows how important he is. He was also undrafted, so he had to work his way up, working hard. What I think I remember most about him, besides the 2-point conversion in the Super Bowl, is that he had amazing touchdown dances and throughout the years. And, that's, I mean, I just want to say that because, really lightened up, the clubhouse. They're both great leaders, great guys. But here's just what I want to talk about. From that 2019, who should be on the Hall of Fame, who shouldn't be. Because now these two are going to make it this year. But you're looking who's really next. Marcus Colston, he'll be in. He was the best wide receiver from that era. And to me, he's easy. He's easy. Slam dunk. But then you're looking at other guys. Does Reggie Bush get in? Had a couple of good seasons, but did he do it long enough? I think he will get in. But the thing is, do I think he should be in? To me, it's close because he's really, he's that type of player who was good for like 3 years and then never really resurfaced for us. I mean, he was great for the Super Bowl run and everything. So, it's really a toss-up. I mean, to me, I'd be fine if he got in. It's not like I'm going to say, oh, he's a bad player. But, for me, did he do enough to get that high honor? And that's really just coming, Devery Henderson, should he get in? To me, he shouldn't. There shouldn't be, he's a deep threat. You can find those dime a dozen. Same with Robert Meacham. So, to me, those shouldn't be in. Lance Moore, I think, did a little bit more. And, he had in 2008, he had, 120 targets and almost had 1,000 yards. He had 1,000 yards in 2012. So, to me, he was, they were all extremely, important, I mean, 2008, he was great. 2010, 2011, he put up the stats as a Saint. From 2006 to 2013, every year, he was good. And he played, over 10 games, all but 1 year. So, to me, that's, he was healthy too. So, he's really, he should be in there. But Devery Henderson only played for a little amount of time. To me, he probably won't get in as a Saint. And on the defensive side, to me, I think a lot of those guys won't get in because the whole bounty gate, which is kind of sad. I mean, Will Smith is already in, which is great. I mean, it was tragedy last year, but he definitely deserved it. John Vilma, who to me, he's a little wishy-washy. He was great with the Saints. Honestly, I think he should be in if it wasn't for the bounty gate because he had the whole bounty gate on him. That's also a toss-up. Same with the whole defense. I think Jabari Greer should be in if he's not already. Yeah, so, I mean, Darren Sharper won't be in because he got, convicted of, crimes. But I think that's really, I think it's a good debate to have because, should we be lenient? Should we just get everyone on that team, Saints Hall of Fame? So it's kind of, like, tough just because they won the Super Bowl and it was our first one. So, you're getting to that time. I thought that could be an interesting discussion. And on to our third piece of news. Former Saints cornerback Delvin Breaux signed a 1-year deal with the CFL's Hamilton Tiger Cats. So, he was a free agent this year. I thought he would get signed by a team, but he doesn't because of injury concerns. Other teams were not interested because of the fibula injury. And he's had so many injuries. He had in high school, he had the spine injury, which is, he came back from that. Good for him, So, but the fibula really killed him the last 2 years. He was great in 2015. 3 picks, injuries riddled really the rest of his career, his Saints career, and to me it's a little of a tragedy because he's a great guy from New Orleans, and I know all New Orleans will be pushing for him. But he was played on the boundary for 2015. He locked down some great receivers, and to me if he has a good season he'll be back hopefully, and good luck, and I hope to see him back in the NFL real soon. On to our fourth and final news topic. So. It's going to be about the NFL Network's top 100 players, and Alvin Kamara came in at number 20. So he was obviously an integral part of last year, and and he was just, he was a great player. He ended up having 120 attempts for 728 yards. He had 7 touchdowns. His receiving, he had 81 receptions last year, and he had 826 yards. He had 5 TDs, 13 TDs overall. He was really just all-around great player. He was a great compliment to Ingram, who came in at 43. And, to me, in your rookie year, you're a top 20 player. That's really impressive. And, and he joins other Saints, Marshawn Lattimore at 82, Mike Thomas at 81, Mark Ingram, as I said, at 43. Cam Jordan at 26, and Drew Brees inside the top 10. The top 10 has been announced, but it has been announced that Drew Brees will be in the top 10. So this is voted on the players, by the players rather, and it's greatly deserved in my opinion because, you have these are by players. So that means we're gonna have 6 players in this thing. So that means teams really respect us, and teams really they feel like this team's really good. We're gonna have to play them hard, and it shows that we're gonna have a really good team in 2018. And you just see that Kamara, hopefully he stays or gets better. Same with Lattimore and Thomas. Mark Ingram coming off the suspension. Let's hope that he can go to his near self. Cam Jordan, to me, is going to be there. He's an amazing player. And Brees, we all know about Brees. So, to me, this is just a great honor for all those players because, it's by the players. That means, you're greatly revered by your peers, which to me is a very good sign for this upcoming season. So, now we're going on to our main topic of the day, and it's going to be a top 5 list. So, our topic is going to be the top 5 most important storylines of this year's offseason and going into next season, the 2018 season. So, without further ado, I'll go right into number 5. So, I think number 5 is adding 2 playmaking wide receivers from the slot, or to the slot. So, the Saints added Cameron Meredith on a 2-year, $9.5 million deal. He was injured last season, but, to me, you look at 2016, he was really good with a quarterback that wasn't throwing the ball a lot. Not throwing the ball well with the Bears. So, at 66 receptions and 888 yards, he did have 4 TDs. To me, he's a really good player. And he can, from the slot, he can solidify the slot. Maybe could be like a Lance Moore type player. And, I think that really makes our offense extremely have no holes. It really puts this team and solidifies this offense together. And there's really an all-around amazing offense. I really can't tell you one flaw about it. If you're looking, now they have a guy from the slot. If he stays healthy, it makes the Saints, how are you going to prepare if you're opposing defense? If you prepare for the run, Drew Brees will pass on you. Prepare for Drew Brees' pass, they'll run right over you. To me, it's slam dunk that we're going to be very good on offense at least, unless a lot of injuries happen. We even have a lot of depth. Our offensive line's been really good too. So this to me was really big. And then we also drafted Traquan Smith on the 91st pick in the 3rd round. So, he's extremely explosive player, in my opinion. I mean, he is extremely lengthy, which he can get the high point high, according to his scouting report. His strengths is that he has, 78% of his catches go for first downs, possesses rare arm length for a receiver, flashes plus ball skills. Once defender is stacked, he won't let them off the hook. So, he can flash by people. And, he can make in-air adjustments. To me, he's a lot. He can be a huge vertical air threat for this team and just gives another dimension to this offense that, that hasn't been there last year. Because, as much as we had playmakers last year, to me, we just needed that one more to get us over the top. And that's what I think. And just, this all just gives Drew Brees more weapons. And, to give him more weapons, it's a scary thought for opposing defenses. So, on to number 4 is Mark Ingram's suspension for the first 4 games. So, he was suspended 4 games for using PEDs. I mean, it's really sad because, he would have been huge for this team this season. Obviously, he had a great season. If you want to look, he played all 16 games. He had over 1,000 yards, over 10 touchdowns. He had 12 touchdowns. He did lose a couple of fumbles, but, he had 5 yards to carry. He was really great last season. And this really hurts his value going into his, into free agency next year. He's going into a contract year this year. So hopefully in these 12 games he puts on a show. And hopefully, he can become a quality, be very good this year. But I know people coming off suspensions look at Willie Snead last year who just, they can never get back in the swing of things. So I really hope that's different for Mark. And, he has a great season. And, to me, if he's going to get top running back money, we're not going to get him. If he gets average to low, say it's a bad season, to me, pick him back up. Hopefully he can regain his 2017 form. And, he has a great season with Kamara in 2019. And, you just hope. But to me, Kamara's ready. Kamara's going to, he can carry the load if Ingram can't. And, Yeah, I mean, it's sad because Mark Ingram was really, to me, he looks like a great guy. And, and he's a great player. So, it is what it is, though. So, number 3. So, for me, it's moving up from 27 to 14 to draft defensive end Marcus Davenport. So, Davenport is from the University of Texas, San Antonio. He's an insane athleticism. He's raw, but, to me, we have amazing coaching. Ryan Nielsen, our defensive line coach, that he's really going to come together. He's going to be a really good player. You just look at his height and weight. He's 6'6", 264, and he ran 4.58. Now, to me, that's like a Coke machine with legs to say. He's huge, and he's fast. He can bend around the edges if needed. He can run through offensive linemen, if needed. He is just a really, he's an extreme good talent. Our coach Sean Payton called him the missing piece to this defense, to this team. Some people didn't like it. I'm the one who did love it, actually. To me, he's an amazing player. To me, I wouldn't have picked Lamar Jackson at 14. To me, that would have been much of a stretch. To me, Davenport's going to be a really good player. Has a good chance to be a star with our development. And I really trust Jeff Ireland, Mickey Loomis, and those boys in the front office because, to me, they've shown last year that, they can get it done. And I think they had another huge hit this year. And, and people say we gave up too much a first-round pick. Well, if he comes out, has like 10 sacks and, we're going to a Super Bowl, no one's going to be talking about next year's first-rounder. So, I think that's enough about Marcus Davenport. On to our number 2, and this is going to be the first day of free agency. So, to me, this is more important than Marcus Davenport's drafting because, we signed Patrick Robinson, 4-year, $20 million deal, and linebacker Demario Davis to a 3-year, $24 million deal. We also signed Jamar Bushrod to be like our backup offensive lineman, but I think we'll talk more about the first two. And, first let's talk about cornerback Patrick Robinson. As we know, he was drafted by the Saints, and he had first stint with the Saints, which kind of up and down. He was great in the slot, and then they moved him outside, and he had a lot of trouble, so he's really a slot corner. But he's ball hawking. He had a big pick in the NFC Championship game against the Vikings last year with the Eagles. And to me, we got burned a lot from the slot last year. If they had a good slot receiver, we were getting burned. You look how the games we gave up a lot of points in. It was really against a team that had a great slot receiver, a slot guy. And in the playoffs, you really saw that. So, with Thielen. So, if he can, lock down the slot, and he really makes our secondary, very, very good. We would have Lattimore on taking the first receiver. We have Crawley opposite of him. Our safeties, to me, we have 3 really solid safeties. Marcus Williams, who I think is going to be a star. Von Bell, who's getting better and better. And Coleman, who we just signed, to me, he's going to be really good too, who we got from the Panthers. Those 3 guys are probably going to be very, those 3 safeties, that's going to make us versatility be very good. We can disguise things now with 3 safeties, which I know Dennis Allen loves to do. So, to me, this gives a lot of versatility in the whole defense, and it just makes another whole patched up, And same with Demario Davis. We signed him to a 3-year, $24 million deal, which is a little high. But I like the signing, He's a linebacker that's dependable, and he's a leader, and he can tackle. He's not a ball hawker, but he's definitely hawks running backs. He won't let him get into the third level. And he can really be, and he's always healthy. He's dependable, which we need from these linebacker core. You look at it, Anzalone's not really, he's not really dependable. He's a lot of injuries. Same with A.J. Klein, who I hope comes back healthy, because he was really good for us last year. And we also had Manti Te'o and Craig Robertson. So really, those players, those Manti Te'o and Craig Robinson, they're dependable, but they're not as skilled as Demario Davis is. And then hopefully we have Klein come back and Anzalone come back. And then, to me, we have a pretty solid linebacking core. It's not the best in the league, but it's definitely not the worst. So, to me, and to have great linebackers is obviously a huge part to your defense. Because to me, that's kind of like the missing part. Our front 4, to me, is really good. I think Cam Jordan, he's amazing. And then, Sheldon Rankins, Tyler Davidson, and David Onyemata are good. The defensive tackles, And then we also have at the other side, to me, it's either going to be Davenport or Okafor, and you could also maybe Trey Henderson in there. So to me, those three guys they're going to be great opposite him. I really think Davenport's going to be a great player. And, Okafor was great before the injury. Hopefully he comes back just as good because they're all getting one-on-ones. They're never going to get double-teamed. Cam Jordan will always get double-teamed. So to me, it's going to be a lot of, they're going to be great. And to me, it just shows a lot of versatility that we could have three guys in one spot. So that we definitely have depth that maybe we didn't have last year. So on to the number one most important storyline of the offseason, to me, is signing Drew Brees. I think this is probably the easy one. But, we signed him for 2 years, $50 million. Only the first year was guaranteed, so basically it's an option, team option. The second, to me, he's integral to this team. And we need him to, go far and win a Super Bowl. To me, he was obviously easy to lock up. And, and to me, this makes us ready to make a Super Bowl run, Drew Brees, without him, there's no shot we win. You just look at his stats with last year, where they weren't amazing, but he did have the highest completion percentage, of all time. That's really big. He only put up 430 yards, which is the least since the Super Bowl year. But, to me, you look at it, I'm fine with him only throwing that many yards because he only had 8 picks, and that's the lowest, of his whole Saints career. It was the first time he's thrown only a single-digit picks in his Saints career, so that's really big, too. Would I love to see him have, a 2011 year with, over, 540, passing yards, 46 touchdowns, yeah, I would love to see that, and I think that would be great. But, to me, last season was just as good, and it's also because he didn't have, you look at his attempts, they're the lowest. So, to me, he won't get those 46 touchdowns or whatever, how many yards. But I'm fine with that because our running backs have been that good. Kamara, Ingram, those two are going to help, make this offense even better. And to me, we're better when he throws less, even though, he's amazing and throws more. But we do need him, for the season. And even the postseason, look at even last year, we leaned on him. I think people thought he was declining, and then you saw, and then last year he was outstanding. He had a 66% completion percentage, which is not amazing, but he was great in those two games. He put up 5 touchdowns in those two. He had he had quarterback rating over 100. He had the most yards for 2 games. I mean, I know Brady and Foles both have more, but they both played 3 games. So he had the most yards per game, and so really shows a lot in how he kind of carried us through. The running game wasn't as good in those 2 games. They're letting us pass, and he did a lot, and really showed what Michael Thomas to do because he had a really good day against the Panthers, and he also had a great day against the Vikings. And he really, he played amazing against Xavier Rhodes, which to me that was insane. So that really made me proud to watch that team, even though they lost. To me that was just great. To me, we're getting better. To me, we got better this offseason. Maybe we didn't hit a splash on Ndamukong Suh or Jordy Nelson or Jimmy Graham, but we did get better and we did plug holes that we needed to. And to me, that's all we really needed to do. Same 2000, the offseason going into last year, we didn't hit a slam dunk. We didn't thought we did, and then everyone was great. Everyone was better than expected. So, we're just hoping that's the same this year. To me, we got better. But, sometimes you don't need stars. You look at some teams, it doesn't really work out. Remember the Eagles, they called themselves a dream team a couple years ago. That didn't work out. So hopefully, to me, the Rams are going to have that same type of meshing problem and see if they can get together. But, the NFC is going to be really good this year, Last year, I feel like, was our year to really make noise. Rodgers wasn't in it. But I feel like this year, I think we're a better team than the Packers. And to me, I think we're all around, so I think that would show in a playoff game. And, really the thing is win our division. So we got to beat the Falcons, we got to beat the Panthers, and if the Bucs are good, we got to beat the Bucs. And to me, I think they can be good next year. But, I think they could kind of be a surprise team. So to me, all 4 teams can definitely be a problem. So we have to really, win this division. We could win this division, we get home playoff games. That's, how we're going to win and get to the Super Bowl. But, obviously our best thing would be, playoffs through the Dome, and then to me that would be, I would feel really confident about going to the Super Bowl. But anyways, I think we're on to wrap up this show and our first podcast. So if you like the show, share it. You can follow us at the Who Dat Dis. And I just want to talk about a minute about some future plans for this podcast, because it is the first podcast. So eventually, to me, I would like to start like a, your fans and, Saints fans can send in questions, and retweet your questions. So, if you want to send in questions, if you're watching this and want your question to be answered, you can email us at thewhodatdis@gmail.com, or you can tweet your questions to us at thewhodatdis. So, now, to me, it's just our schedule. We'll probably do once a week, every Wednesday. And then as the season gets more, I think we'll shift to do Friday and Monday. Friday being the upcoming game, Monday being we'll recap. And to me, I think that's a really good schedule. And now I just want to say thank you and who dat?